Okay.
Are we ready? So I will introduce our speaker today. We are very happy to have here Peter Mayeso Jiyajiya, who's a PhD student at the School of Critical Studies at the University of Glasgow and who's done some field work in Malawi, working with NGO communities there. And he's going to talk a bit about his first insight. We are really happy to have you here. And I hand over the virtual microphone to Peter.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. So as Michael said, this presentation is basically a recount of my experiences during my field work in Malawi. So just a disclaimer, it's not a hardcore academic presentation. So you won't see the deep theories and everything and issues of intertextuality and all that. It's because I just want to share with you what I saw and experienced, and of course there'll be some other quotations from the people that I interviewed or I had a conversation with during my field work, so that we appreciate what things are like in Malawi. And I should think that the experiences that I had are similar to most of the developing countries, that, especially in Africa, where we have NGOs working on donor-funded projects and working with the local communities. And my presentation will be focused on a specific district where I did I was doing my research, and I can confidently say that what is happening in that district is representative of what is happening in Malawi in general, because I happen to have some friends working with NGOs that when I was sharing with them what I experienced in Neno district, they were actually not surprised, and they were telling me that no, that's the case everywhere. But my interest really is that, you see, in the title there's an issue of sustainability. I don't know. I know sustainability, it's a broad term, but at this point, I'm interested in sustainability in terms of sustaining the project beyond the time frame that the NGO is supposed to implement the project. But also, as you see from the presentation, the same sustainability may also apply to environmental sustainability in the area, because there are issues that people raised during my field work that I think have got an impact on sustainability, as in terms of using the natural resources, but making sure that they last longer than the time that we use. So, Tom, may you change the slide, please?
Has that changed?
Right.
Okay.
So, an outline. So I'll give you a bit of a background and the legal and regulatory framework in terms of what are the legal framework, what's the legal framework, what's the legal environment when it comes to development. And I must say that I'm focusing on the local development or the local, I should say the local development or the local government system. And I will explain why. And then I'll look at the structural organization and social organization, and probably at the end, the implications and conclusion. So the picture you see there, it's me during one of the field works. And the gentleman in red golf shirt is an NGO official meeting one of the what we call the village development committee, explaining to them what their project is all about. Right. slide. This slide. Good. A bit of a background. I think this may be well known to some of you, but we saw an mushrooming of NGOs really in Malawi starting 1994. That's when Malawi transitioned from one-party rule to multi-party democracy. So there was like opening up of the space for the civic space for NGOs and the civil society organizations to join hands with government in the implementation of different projects. So as of 2023, we are yet to get the report for 2024. So we had 941 registered NGOs, of which 736 were local and 205 were international. And in terms of their programming, when you read almost all the NGO reports or project documents, they make mention of participatory approaches as their way of working with the communities. And as we may all know that most of the NGOs, I would say, like in Malawi, I would say all the NGOs implement donor-funded projects. And this background has got a bearing to what we'll see as we go, especially on the issues of participatory approaches as well as the implementation of donor-funded projects. These two issues really have got a bearing on the discussion as we go. Next. Okay, in terms of the legal framework, so like I said, I'm not focusing on the national government. I'm focusing on the local government. The reason is that we have the Local Government Act, which establishes the local government, or what we call the district councils. And then there is decentralization policy. Now, this is where I'm focusing my, I'm having my focus on the district, because in Malawi nowadays, because of decentralization, all the development projects are supposed to be handled at district or at local government level, that is at district level. So the district now is the most important level of governance, and every NGO or every government project has to start right from the district level or at the district council. The national office or the national government is just there for policy and coordinating with the international community. But generally, in terms of the actual development process or the actual development or implementation of projects, it starts at the district level. That's why there's that decentralization policy, which sets the structure at the district and what needs to be done when an organization or when a government department or an individual wants to work on a particular project. And so with this, there are 3 levels of governance that have governance structure that have been set under the LGA. So at the top level of the local government, we have what we call the District Executive Committee. And below that, we have the Area Development Committee. And at the lower level, we have the Village Development Committee. These levels are important, and I think I'll explain. We'll see how they come into contact with the NGOs and the communities, and how these levels impact or affect the relationship between the NGOs that are coming into the community and the local communities. Right, so another slide. Next slide. Right, so let's go into the structural organization of both the local councils and how that affects the development. And I'll be now focusing on Neno. Neno is the district where I'm doing my research. So I want us to look at how this social organization affects development processes. What are its complexities? So, like I said, it's max scale. So you have at local governance structure, you have the district council, then you have the area development committee, and then you have the VDC. So in this case, I'll look at the local governance structure, the NGO structure, as well as how that impacts on the community. Next slide. Now it's sorry, it's a bit chaotic because I'm not very good with what do we call this, graphics, PowerPoint graphics. So you bear with me. But I think you can see the case on my on the screen. Now, this on your left side is the local governance structure, which you have the district council. So the district council comprises of the secretariat, which is headed by the district commissioner, but also has got the political side, which is headed by the chairperson of the council. And the chairperson is a politician who is a councillor. So he's a councillor and is elected by their fellow councillors. So the political and the secretariat together, they form what is called the district council. Now, under the district council, there is a committee which is responsible for approving and analyzing and approving development projects that are coming into the district. And this is the district executive committee. This committee comprises of, or is chaired by the district commissioner. And then the members of this committee are all the heads of government departments, as well as non-governmental institutions that are in the district. So you have a head for education, head for health, head for children and welfare. Then you have head for media, any media house that is available in the district, they will send a member on the, so they all become members of this committee. And the responsibility of this committee is to scrutinize projects that NGOs or individuals want to implement in the district. Then below that, we have the area development committee. So this one is now in the community. The way the communities in Malawi are structured, we have what we call villages, and then we have got areas. So the village is also is divided into two. You have a smaller unit of the village, which has got what we call a village chief or a village head. But in our language, we are able to differentiate. We call them Nyakwawa. So that's like a junior chief, I should say. So they are responsible for a village. Now, a number of villages, it could be 3-4 villages, they form what we call a group village, and they are headed by a group village headman or headwoman. And that's where you find the village development committee. And the area, now, more, you could have the whole constituency made of so many villages. It could be 10, 20 villages. They form what we call the traditional authority. And these villages, or these cluster of villages, is headed by the traditional authority. So Above the traditional authority, we have other senior chiefs, but I'm not focused on these ones because I think they're not important at this point. What is important is the area development, the traditional area where we have the area development committee. And then you have the VDC and the local development. Now, you'll notice that there are blue arrows going up, starting from the local community pointing up. Then you have orange arrows pointing down. The reason I've done this is, for the blue arrows this side, this is the district development plan formulation process. So what happens is, villages or communities, people in the villages, so these are ordinary people, okay? I will use that word, ordinary people, with no any position in the village. They are supposed to come up with their development plans. And they are called VAPs, they call village, just forgot it, but they are village development plans. So the village development committee, together with the chief or the village head, invites or summons or call the people in the village to come together. So the chief is there, the village development committee is there now to ask the people what they want in their community, as what their needs are, in case there's anyone who wants to come and work with them, what is that they would want to be assisted on or to work on, to partner on, things like those. So they write all that, put that together as the village plan. Then once they do that, the VDC, which is the Village Development Committee, takes those plans, development plans that the local communities have come up with, they send them to the Area Development Committee. So what it means is all the villages under this traditional authority send their village development plans to this committee, the ADC. And the ADC will compile all these plans into one compendium or one book, and they will send it to the district council. So the district council will put together all the plans from the area or the traditional authority, which the area development committees have submitted, into one book, which they call the district development plan. Okay, so what it means, every district in Malawi has got a compilation of the development plans or development aspirations for all the communities in that particular district. That's why the formulation plan is the arrows are pointing upwards, showing that the way the plans are formulated, they ideally start from the local communities going up to the district. Now, when you look at the development execution now, the arrow is pointing, they are pointing down. So what happens now? An NGO comes, they want to implement a project on a particular theme, okay? So they will go to the district first and tell the district commissioner that we want to come into your district to implement a project. So we want to come and inform you or get permission from you so that you allow us to enter into your district. And then the district executive committee will meet the NGO. So the NGO will make a presentation to the district executive committee regarding their project. Ideally, and I'm using the word ideally deliberately, ideally, the DEC, District Executive Committee, is supposed to scrutinize that proposal or that project vis-a-vis the district development plan. For example, if NGO X wants to implement a project in village A, the district executive committee is supposed to check in the district development plan what village A submitted. Then they should see is what the NGO, the thematic area or the project that the NGO wants to implement, is it in line with the needs or the aspiration of the people in village A? If the answer is yes, they're supposed to approve. If the answer is no, then they can negotiate, say, okay, but where you want to go, this is what the people want. These are their priorities. Is there a way of you aligning or finding a way of meeting the needs of this community? Or based on your project, we believe that village B, then the needs of village B are in line with your project, not the village A where you want to go. So would you please go to village B because what you want to do is in line with that. So that's what is supposed to be done. But in the case of the project that I was observing, because I attended this meeting, the district executive committee, when the NGO, which is Catholic Development Commission of Malawi, which is CADECOM, when they were making a presentation to seek approval, I was there. I would say without fear of contradiction, they did not even question the project. What they did was simply to ask questions. So how much are you spending on this project? Which village, how many villages are you intending to work on and things like that? So there wasn't anything like scrutinizing the project vis-a-vis what the people want in those particular areas. So from there, we went down to ADC. I was accompanying the NGO. So from there, the NGO is supposed to go to ADC, which is Area Development Committee. So when they meet these people, they will tell them, we were at the village, at the district council. We met the DEC committee, and they have approved our project, but we are coming to meet you to also seek your approval. So they explained to ADC. ADC has got the powers as well to approve the project if it's in line with what is in the development plans, to reject the project if it's not in line with the development plans, or to negotiate into some sort of modifications of the project so that there's sort of a win-win. So they have got those powers. And once the ADC approves, which mostly happens, actually, when I was after the meeting, I had to sit down with the ADC to get their views in the way they do their work. They actually told me that, it's difficult for us to reject a project because you will never know what people want out there. We may say no, when in fact there'll be some people out there that will be comfortable, will be happy with the project. So we just accept any project that comes. After all, we want people to come and help us. So why should we say no in a project? And then you have the Village Development Committee, which are from ADC, then they go to the VDC to explain to them what the project is all about and start what they call sensitization programs, informing people of the project, making sure that there's buy-in, I should say, of the project. Now, on the right side is the NGO project structure. Like the project that I was following up, there is a donor, a financier, and an investor. These are the people. So there is an investor, including HSBC Bank that we have here in UK, which has put money because the project is on carbon trading. So HSBC has put some money, and they have identified someone, and then they have identified a group of NGOs or say investors or whatever. So they have put together the money. So they are called the financiers. and they have identified an organization which is coordinating everything from the international level. So this organization, is what I'm calling the donor organization. It has identified another, I think there's supposed to be another intermediate organization here. In Malawi, they are using Catholic Relief Services, CRS. So this donor has given money to CRS, Catholic Services, and Catholic Services had to identify implementing partners. And these implementing partners are the ones that I'm calling the implementation unit. And in my case, it is CADECOM. So we have CADECOM, we have World Vision and other organizations that are implementing. So CADECOM is implementing in Neno. So CADECOM reports to DEC, and the same process as I explained here, going up down to the local communities where they start working with the communities. So that's how the whole process of development works in the district. So whatever happens on the right and whatever happens on the left, they kind of intersect. So they affect each other. There's that kind of this affects this and this structure affects this in terms of project implementation. Okay, I have a slide. Right. Here I've used the social organization deliberately because my focus is on the power relations in the community, not the structure organization, because there is a structure, of course, but I want to focus on the social aspect of that structure in the community. I already talked about the traditional authority, the group village, and the village. So these authorities, they have got power over what goes on in their communities or in their villages or in their area. Whoever comes, an individual or an organization, they have to go through the traditional authority first. Even me, when I was going to do my field work, I had to first of all go and meet the traditional authorities, explain to them why I'm in the area, what I need to do. And it was interesting for me because I remember one of the TAs warning me that, you are welcome, but you must know one thing. You'll be stepping on somebody's toes with your research, because it's like you are following on people who are doing a project here, they are spending money here. You are doing more like an audit of their work, So you have to be very careful in the way you do your work. But the point here is the TA has got a bigger say. So if the TA says yes, no one can say no. The same thing with the group village heads do what the TA tells them, because is the top authority. So mostly these ones will say they'll do as what the TA will. In some cases, we have had some meetings where when you're going to the TA will invite his group village, so that they are there. When you're explaining to them of what you want to do, they should all be there listening. So, and the TA would allow the group village heads to ask questions. So the TA will speak at the end after the village heads have spoken. So that's how it is structured at village or at community level. So you find that the local communities, I'm using the word local communities, meaning the people with no any authority in the village, with no any position. So the local communities will now follow whatever the village head says, whatever the group village head says, and whatever the TA says. And at the same time, we should remember the NGO comes to work with the communities, and the NGO would first of all as it enters the community, meet the TA together with the ADC. And the NGO would also meet the group village head together with the VDC. So by the time the NGO is getting in contact with the local communities, all the approvals have been done. So what they do, what the NGO does is just to inform the people. And from the experience that I've had with this particular NGO is that people in the community usually say, oh, you are welcome, we are ready to work with you, everything. But when you meet them, when I met them later now, they started telling me other things that, you know, we can't say anything in front of the chief, things like those. So, but we just have to accept whatever. After all, we need help. So any NGO that comes, we accept. And what we need is help from them. So those are the social issues that are obtaining in the communities. Next slide. I think I've already talked about this. Could go to the next slide. Right. I will not spend much here because I think I've been explaining in the previous slides in terms of how the local development works. So it's the same thing that I explained. I think here is just an explanation, a textual explanation of what I said in the diagrams that was in the previous slide. So you got, yes. Right, so just something what was happening in Neno, where I was doing my research. So when CADECOM went through all the processes, now it was meeting the communities. So what they did was they call it community visioning. So this is where the NGO sit down with the communities to identify the areas of need. And ideally, so I keep on using the word ideally there because that's the ideal thing, but in reality, it could be something else. So ideally, that would inform the project, the whole implementation process and what the project will be about. Now, when after that, the NGO collected all what they call the visions, what the communities wanted, what the communities think they are capable of doing on their own, the areas the communities will need help, things like those. Then I had a meeting with the project coordinator from CADECOM. So he said, so this is where now the word ideally comes in. He said that, you know, after the community visioning, we only selected those visions that align with our project. We only selected those visions that are in line with the objectives of our project. So which means the NGO was not there to listen to the people in terms of areas that they need to modify or areas that they need to work on, but it was there to try, I would say, have the people align themselves with what the NGO is there for. Okay. And I remember one of the community members during focus group discussions, they said that, you know, when they came here, they told us that we should decide on what we want in terms of the economic activities that we would want to do. So we wrote our plans, the economic activities that we want. But at the end of it, they said, no, we only take those economic activities that have to do with horticulture, for example. So they said they want each one of us to be planting tomatoes and everything. Then who will be buying tomato from? What if instead of allowing us to go into different economic activities and then we support each other as a community, but they wanted all of us to be planting tomato, So, things like those. So this was the first time, that was in 2023, when they were meeting the communities to do the visioning. In 2024, what happened was that the livelihood component, which was part of the the visioning, was left out. It was taken out of the project. But when they were meeting the communities at first, they were telling them that the project has got a livelihood component, which will help you to get empowered economically while you are working on the environmental restoration. And then there's this quotation, which I was taught by one of the focus group discussions. They say, we told the officer that we can't be planting trees while we have nothing to eat. So we told them to incorporate an element of economic activity for us. She said she has heard us, but our budget is only for planting trees. I've written that in bold, in capital letters. So here you have the NGO and the community meeting, engaging, discussing, getting to a sort of engagement, so that they together partner or work together as they implement the project. But then the NGO says, but our budget is only for planting trees. So the idea is that people wanted the NGO to think about a livelihood component in their project, so that while the people are restoring the environment, planting trees and everything, they also have got something to do to bring them money. And what they were saying is that the reason why we wanted economic activity is that we should not go back to the forest or cut down the trees, because then we'll be busy with our economic activities. But this is that the challenge that the NGO has, they only have the budget for planting trees. Next slide. Then one of the NGO officials said this, we know what the communities want. They have got problems. We can't be going there just to tell them plant trees, but every time we go with a livelihood, supposed to be a livelihood component, not project, but component of this particular project, our donor has not been happy. We have been told to refund the money that we had used before, because they say it's not part of the project. So what do? These people have got needs. So this is what one of the NGO, this particular NGO CADECOM official told me. Okay. So they said, now we only follow what the donor wants and what is prescribed in the project document. Next slide. So now the question is, what's the implication of that in terms of sustainability of the project, as well as sustainability of the environment there? So you have the NGO coming, like in case of the NGO that I was working with, they seem, at first they seem to be open to incorporating ideas from the community, because that's ideally, that's what was supposed to be done when they were meeting the communities, negotiating, as they're engaging, trying to find common areas of common interest, so that there is buy-in of the community. So but while the NGO exits the area, then the communities can continue with the project. So that was what they were saying. So we want to do as the community wants. So we'll try as much as possible to work with them to incorporate the ideas. But as we have seen with the quotation in the previous slide, they were constrained from doing that, because every time they try to do something in response to what is on the ground in the community, the communities they are working, their funder says, no, that's not part of the project. It's not written in the proposal. I mean, in the project document. So the question is, do communities have anything to say? And I remember one of the VDC meetings, they said, when higher up there, the chief or the council says yes, who can say no here? Let's be honest. Who can say no to the chief? Okay, so those are some of the things. Do communities really have got a say in any project? You know, so here we have got the chief. People are afraid of the chief. Then we have the people giving their views to the NGO, and the NGOs doesn't incorporate them because of the NGO has got someone to answer to as well, who is limiting them in terms of how much the NGO can do. That's why there's this question: do NGO officials have a say in the project implementation, where there are changes in this where there are change in situations on the ground? So while we are looking at the communities, their needs not being met, whatever, but let's also look at the NGO. Do they have got anything to say? Do they have got a say in the project? Because they are the ones that are on the ground implementing. They are seeing the challenges. They are seeing things that are happening on the ground. Do they have got a say in the project implementation? So those are some of the questions that have been going on in my mind upon looking at what is happening. The last slide. Not last, but okay, next slide. So we have all this. So I hope these questions to reflect.
Peter,
by the way,
if you want some questions, you should wrap it up, because we try and finish on time. So we've got about 12 minutes.
Yeah, sure. Actually, this is the last but one slide. So questions for reflections that who are these projects meant for, and who is allowed to speak in the development chain, looking at what is happening right from the structure that the NGO has, the structure that the local government has, the social situation in the community, and everything else that they come into play as the NGOs are coming in the community to work with the communities. And the last slide, Tom. So I don't have the answers to the questions above, so we can brainstorm. Thank you.